Hey, peace, love, and blessings, fam. Johnny Sally here, coming at you again with another video. I don't really put a whole lot of effort or stress into finding topics. I just literally get in front of the camera and allow the creative energies to express themselves through me. So my brother Nadi encouraged us to do a challenge to where we're supposed to post 15-minute videos once a day for 60 days. Now, he also dropped some information or knowledge in regards to utilizing AI to help us with this. And I've seen a lot of other content creators that use AI and ask it for scripts and things of that nature. But I have a very overactive brain. I have a very overactive imagination. So my mind said, let's see what AI thinks about spirituality. So looks like I'm going to just open up a segment on YouTube called Let's Ask AI. Because when I Googled it, when I looked on YouTube, I didn't see anybody else doing it. So hey, kudos to me. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Johnny Sally. I am a father of 7 biological, actually 8 children. There are a lot of different accolades. I'm a veteran. I'm a part of a spiritual movement called Galacticus. I do work with healing ceremonies for individual. I work with sound therapy. I have a bachelor's in child and family development. I can go on and on and on, and I really don't like having to do that for myself. At some point I am just going to have to do an introductory video on myself, but that's just a little backstory on me. Now, again, I mentioned I'm a part of a group called Galacticus, and I'm very, very spiritually grounded in everything that I do in life. So, being that there's so much fear-mongering around AI, especially because of a lot of the movies that we've seen, I've taken it upon myself to understand that we have to interject as much light into these programmings as much as the negative that's being put into these same programmings. So, let's get started. One question I asked AI was, why is humanity stuck spiritually? It says humanity's sense of spiritual stagnation can be attributed to various interrelated factors, both internal and external, affecting individuals and societies on a broad scale. Here are some key reasons why spiritual growth or fulfillment can feel elusive for many people. Now, it gave me 10 areas: materialism and consumerism, technological distraction, loss of traditional spiritual practices, cultural and societal pressures, fear and ego, lack of guidance or mentorship, skepticism and rationalism, global crisis and disconnection, search for instant gratification, and existential uncertainty. I was like, wow, that got real deep real quick. But let's see what the breakdowns are. Materialism and consumerism. In modern societies, there is a heavy emphasis on material wealth, consumer goods, and outward success. This focus on external validation and acquisition can overshadow inner spiritual pursuits. When people are constantly striving for more material wealth or status, they may neglect their spiritual needs, which often require introspection, mindfulness, and a sense of connection to something larger than themselves. And I can definitely agree with that because we're so focused on trying to live day to day. It has to be intentional space made for spiritual practices. Daily, I get up and I'm at my altar. I'm saying prayers. I'm burning GAM, which is Galacticus ancestor money for my ancestors. Some can feel like, oh, well, why do you do that? All you have to do is pray for them. Our ancestors need work done for us. Done by us, just like we need things done by them. That's another topic I can go into in another video, but let's continue. Technological distraction. Whew. The rapid advancement of technology, particularly with the rise of digital devices and social media, has led to a constant bombardment of information and distractions. Many individuals struggle to find time for reflection, prayer, meditation, or deep connection to their inner selves as they are continually engaged with screens and external stimuli. This creates a barrier to spiritual practices that require stillness and presence. Now, I really don't even feel like I have to expound on that, but I hear so often individuals say they don't have time for anything spiritual. I'll just make it this simple. In one of my other videos I previously posted, I said if you have time to scroll, you have time to heal. If you have time to scroll, you have time for everything. It's just a matter of where you're going to focus your intention, of if you're going to have positive distractions or deterring distractions or mindless distractions. 3. Loss of traditional spiritual practices. In many parts of the world, traditional forms of spiritual practice, such as religious ceremonies, community gatherings, and meditation, have been diminished or replaced with secular alternatives. In some cases, people have lost faith in organized religions or spiritual communities, either due to disillusionment or the perceived irrelevance of these practices in a modern world. Again, some of the things I don't even really have to go further into. People would rather go to clubs, go to parties. I mean, in general, the average person would say they're just enjoying life, and that's perfectly fine. That's cool. Some of us do understand that in order to leave this plane and not have to come back and continue playing the game of samsara, at some point, you're gonna want to have to buckle down. Many people even only say they're a part of certain religions because they only fear hell, but their daily lives don't show anything that would represent them being afraid of going somewhere to burn eternally. It's a facade in most cases that people tell themselves to make themselves feel better. And again, to each his own. There's nothing wrong with living life. You have to have balance. Just as much as there has to be spirituality, there has to be some level of grounding and balance to allow you to understand where you want to go in this journey, in this existence. Cultural and societal pressures. Societal norms, pressures, and expectations can cause individuals to conform to a way of life that is disconnected from spiritual inquiry. Social conditioning often values success, productivity, and individualism over qualities like compassion, self-awareness, and spiritual growth. This leaves many people feeling disconnected from their deeper sense of purpose. We'll go right into 5. Fear and ego. One of the biggest things I've seen when it comes to individuals and their spirituality. The ego, yes, is there to help us identify and grow into who we are as we are taking the necessary steps into becoming an adult and developing who you are as a being. But your ego many times can definitely keep you from striving further. Spiritual growth often involves confronting deep-seated fears, insecurities, and unresolved emotional wounds. The ego resists this inner work because it challenges its sense of identity and control. This fear of change or of letting go of the ego can create resistance to spiritual exploration, even though growth requires vulnerability, surrender, and acceptance of impermanence. The reason why I said the ego can be a major problem is what it says right there about it challenging its sense of identity and control. The ego is connected to something called the human default programming, which is very insidious and sly in how it moves to prevent you from reaching higher levels of spirituality. The ego does not want you many times to go back and unravel the traumas that have given you the morals, the mores, the ideologies that you have developed to become the individual that you are. Now, we do understand that once you start running towards your healing and you begin to unravel those things, you begin to see how you develop certain insight into yourself and how the world works and how wrong you may have been in your views on things based off certain traumas connected to your ego. Let's move on to 6. Lack of guidance or mentorship. Spiritual growth often benefits from guidance, whether it comes from a teacher, mentor, or a spiritual community. In the absence of meaningful guidance or a framework for understanding one's spiritual journey, people may struggle to find direction or motivation. Without a clear path, spiritual seekers may become discouraged or uncertain of how to proceed. Now, the ego can play a factor into that too, because out here in Texas, there are tons of spiritual guides, gurus, mentors, even on YouTube. But again, the ego can pop out, and a highly accredited, elevated individual on the spiritual plane can give guidance and assistance, and the ego will say, that's not what I want to hear. I want to hear this, and I want to do it my way. And once that begins to happen, I've watched people be under beautiful tutelage and literally turn their back on everything because the ego got in the way. And sometimes people can turn into a black hole of knowledge where it's like they just take and take and take, and I want this information and I want this information. I go to this seminar, I go to this seminar, I go to this seminar, and they're just piling up and amassing more and more knowledge that they never use. They've never applied any of the spiritual practices. They've never done any of the rituals. They've never done any of the baths. They've never called upon their ancestors. They've never done any of these things. It just looks good in a big book format. Number 7, skepticism and rationalism. In the modern world, science and rationalism have dominated much of the intellectual landscape. This emphasis on an empiricism and logical reasoning has led many people to doubt their existence or importance of spiritual experiences that cannot be easily measured or proven. A reliance on the material worldview can make it difficult for some to open themselves to spiritual practices that transcend the purely physical. There are some people that if it didn't happen to them, they can't believe it. I can tell you some stories of the way the gods have worked in my life, the way my ancestors have worked in my life, the way some of my friends have worked in my life. Like, real quick, I got a homeboy I was in the military with, Big H, David Harrington from South Carolina. Bro, he might as well have been blood. We might as well have came out of the same womb. We rocked that tight. Now, those that know me spiritually know it, that I understand the process of death and transitioning to a different level. But when bro transitioned, it hurt a part of me that I didn't even understand. Some of my closest friends were like, bro, I've never seen you cry and break down like this. Yeah, I can't even say it was a full 6 months later. I'm riding, and on the back of this pickup truck, I see Big H written literally on the back of the window. It's too many stories I can give. I had another brother come over here not too long ago on his dad's solar return. His dad is transitioned. He was burning some GAM, ancestor money, at my altar, and he was literally telling me as I'm talking to him, his dad is standing there talking at the same time, and he didn't want to be rude to either one of us and not listen to either one of us. But some people, if they haven't experienced it, they can't believe it. We'll just go ahead and knock out 8, 9, and 10 right quick. Global crisis and disconnection. The world faces numerous challenges: environmental crises, political instability, economic inequality, and social divisions that can cause individuals to feel overwhelmed and disconnected from a higher purpose. When people are focused on survival or coping with stress, it is difficult for them to prioritize spiritual pursuits. This widespread disconnection from the collective spirit or sense of shared humanity can create a sense of spiritual emptiness that goes right back along with materialism and consumerism, number one. Because if you're focused on trying to live whether it's financially, whether it's literally your survival of you trying to make sure you got your next meal or fighting for your life. How are you able to focus on spirituality? It takes a lot of intent, and it's not for the faint of heart. Number 9, search for instant gratification. The modern culture often promotes quick fixes and immediate satisfaction. Whether through entertainment, food, or other indulgences, spiritual growth, however, is typically a long, gradual process requiring patience, self-discipline, and introspection. The quest for instant gratification can detract from the deeper, more lasting rewards that come from spiritual work. We live in what is called McDonaldization. If I'm not mistaken, that's what it was called in sociology, to where everybody wants everything fast. Everything wants to be warmed up. So instead of going to the gym and work out, somebody will just go ahead and get a surgery done. Now, one thing that we have been able to help us accelerate spiritually are certain initiatics, psilocybin, mushrooms, ibogaine, combo, things of that nature that help open up and expand your consciousness. But spirituality is a lifelong thing. You're not just going to jump into it and activate your Merkaba light body and then fume off of this planet overnight. It's just not going to happen unless there is something that has taken place and has already been written, which is very rare, and you probably wouldn't hear about it because this individual has been prepared to come here for that purpose. And many times if they've come for that purpose, they also come back to assist. 10, existential uncertainty. Humanity is often grappling with existential questions about the meaning of life, suffering, and the nature of existence. These questions can create a sense of uncertainty or anxiety, making it difficult for individuals to find spiritual answers or satisfaction. The lack of clear, universally accepted answers can cause people to feel lost, unfulfilled, or spiritually adrift. And I definitely and completely understand that. A lot of people have a hard time accepting spirituality because there's not just one book. We know there's one book that most people may choose to ascribe to, but that some of these books are not factually, historically delivered. Some will say they came from the hand of God. And to me personally, to try to put the divine creator of all into a concept for us to understand is far beyond the ego. It's far beyond a level of arrogance that we as earthling humans operate from, as to why we don't have very much interaction with interdimensional or multidimensional beings. Because of that level of arrogance of saying there's a deity that created all of existence, but it put this stuff in this book and there's no way that it couldn't have come from God, and everything in this book has to be true and factual. But you can clearly find many discrepancies if you actually sit down and read it. Now, if you sit down and read it and compare it with other books of other religions or other dictates, then you begin to see something unfold and unravel that exposes you to the fact of as above, so below. So if there are millions of us, why wouldn't there be millions of gods? Why wouldn't there be gods on other timelines and other planets that we have no idea about? AI finishes up by saying, despite these challenges, many individuals and communities continue to seek spiritual fulfillment in various ways, including through meditation, mindfulness, the study of ancient wisdom traditions, or engagement in social causes. Ultimately, spiritual growth is deeply personal, and each person's journey towards it may look different. In times of uncertainty, it may be more important than ever to cultivate an open, curious, and compassionate attitude towards the mysteries of existence. You ever heard the scripture, study to show thyself approved? That's what it's all about. You have to be willing to dig within yourself and look further outside of the complex of what you have been taught in order to see and understand the deeper mysteries and realities. Your ancestors are waiting. Your spirit guides are waiting. There are certain things that are taking place that, whether you believe it or not, doesn't change the fact of it. If you don't know that someone has put poison into your Coca-Cola, does that stop there from being poison in your Coca-Cola? No. So that's my time tonight. Again, the question asked was, why is humanity stuck spiritually? And AI broke that down very nicely and intensely. So this is Let's Ask AI. I think I'm going to continue doing this. Peace.